We're raised under a schoolmaster. We are raised under a schoolmaster, as was my Lord. He did indeed seek me, redeemed me by his blood, called me to say over 5,000 times in only two ways, really. First, welcome everybody to FinDAP, Flat Earth Nation de Areopagitica, or then I changed it to FinGap because people didn't understand the Latin. Welcome everybody to Flat Earth Nation Golden Age Past. I did that for 5,000 videos because I was constrained to train those being made wise. Their open eyes wander only for an instant, so you can offer resistance to the new hated life that you used to love. Born again, not of your own choosing, even though it feels exactly like that when you're going through it as a milk of the word newborn Christian. Or still under the schoolmaster of the grand poobah of blah blah. I know not much is in your wallet. It's a bitter pill, but swallow it. Then go tie my kangaroo down, sport. Tie my kangaroo down. I am your Paco. Welcome everybody to the Mud Flood Was Armageddon. The mud flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. As I greet some people that I want to say, hey, what up? I had another question. What about your life is hypothetical? It hasn't been me. Getting gangrene is not hypothetical to me. Dealing with militant lesbians that were appointed by a Epstein clone, that's not hypothetical to me. Finding the stones, doing the FinGap, Mud Flood Was Armageddon thing, drilling the stones because they were crying out as body parts of titans reserved in judgment. RJ didn't drive from Wisconsin to help me do that on a theory or, a hypothesis. This is what we've been doing for a long time now. Did I tell you I'm the Paco? Welcome everybody to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. So let's go. I got to show you this thing. Remember this? Like, I tell you, don't listen to my medical advice. What I really mean is, if you have to, go check with another doctor. But I'm not trying to steer you along. Look into what I'm telling you. Same thing with your economics. Then I like to go to the pictures. I'm going to check. Look at that. Pretty sure. So since last night, I did look at a Apollo landing thing, and they say they took this picture as observations from the moon. He saw this. They took a picture of it. Wasn't there another? It's the atmosphere and its magnetosphere and their interaction. So that's why it looks funny. So I guess I started in the middle. That's the way it goes sometimes. Woman professor brought Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein together. You know, we're only finding out about her yesterday. Have you heard about her? She's out. Becca Day is all over it. She's got it. Man, maybe all those girls were Jeffrey Epstein girls, not only Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, and Melania, and Meghan Markle, and some of the, maybe she was one. Maybe Beverly McClure was one. Look at all of these. These are different things that happened that's covered by a robot. A robot just dropped all these things and said, this is how they took over South America before they took over Venezuela. That's only part of the list. It goes on. They did this, then they had to do this, that, and the other thing. So they're like, okay, what's left? Well, you need the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, Black September, Al-Qaeda corrective movement in Syria. Somehow that'll help the Salvadorian Civil War, Soviet-Afghan War in 1980 to 84, when the Olympics will be boycotted. Boom. Wrap it up for me. Okay. Fall of the Berlin Wall. Velvet Revolution. Until you get hung. What was that guy's name? Ceausescu. We'll go back over that. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go back to 2. What was this? Dirty War. Korean Airline 902. I have a lot of airline stuff pulled up here. There's that girl in the funny moon. Oh, look, this is like CNN from 1996 on the death of Ron Brown. He died. He was murdered, I think. He was I believe he got falling out with the Clintons. So, and he goes, look, you think I'm going down myself? And they said, no, you'll go down with about 30 others when we change the transponders and you fly into the mountain. Look, we're going to look at Bible Miner first. Completely crazy. Some of the things that people put up with that comes out of her mouth. The brood of vipers. She's going to be telling you that she thinks the Pharisees were the bloodline of the Medes and the Persians. This was last night. That's what I got here. All Abrahamics are to be played off against each other. Who sent me that? Oh, that's Kings of Bible Miner again. The Abraham religions are being played off against each other. It is a pincer movement controlled by the black nobility, age-old satanic bloodlines. They are a death cult who worship the satanic inverted energies that, yeah, okay. No, they don't prove it. What is the promised seed of woman? It's Eden. You're going to get the seed of a woman. That's going to be Jesus. To Abraham, the land, whole land forever. Abraham's descendants. They say that's in the future. I disagree. David, descendant or seed Jesus Christ. That's future. So this must be what the Kabbalah or something. The sons of Abraham. It's nonsensical, but you got to put that out. Really, you really think that there were 8 people on the ark and one of them was part reptile? Okay, as your sin isn't enough to separate you from God, now there has to be levels. of what, oh yeah, I'm a born in sin. I know my heart is desperately wicked. I've proven that to, we can all say, I've proven that to myself over and over again. But the reptile ones, who boy, glad I'm not one of them. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're thinking? Who's leading who down the primrose path? These people cover billions of dollars, I think, a year that they're pedophiles. She's got a rich husband. She's helping them. They honestly get brainwashed. It's a thing, right? Don't they? That's your thumbnail right there. Look at that fish, a rare fish in Monterey Bay. It says it's a prelude. The old wives' tale, if you see the king of the salmon fish, there's an earthquake coming. That's not me. I usually get like this whole thing. Messenger from the sea god's palace. Oh no, the deep sea oarfish. You see it that omen. Oh man, whatever. Fake ID, being warned about fake AI content by AI content they come up with. Masters of Prophecy is currently the fastest growing channel across all of YouTube, going from a few hundred subscribers in February to over 30 million in June. All of its content and all of its free. MGT called out Israel over Venezuela. So they say, hurrah, territory right there. Previously particularly suitable for agriculture. 1935. What do you got to go? Do we have to go back every time? Yes, I've heard about the Balfour Agreement. Weird picture, huh? That's the Continental Divide. This is where that climber died New Year's Day. Him and his girlfriend, both of them well packed. He somehow, I don't know if he saw something, she saw something. It was quite the rescue. There's lions in the street. I'd like to know if I was sharing that. No complaints, so that's a good sign. Hey, let's start it off like this. Not theoretically. I used to live right here near this farm. Across the way, here's where we lived. There was another house here. The Bates lived over here. The DeGrushes lived right around in here, unless it was this one here. So, but back to here, I know for sure here by Wapakon Creek, because I used to have a friend that, like, this was their driveway. They had a house here, and like his basketball thing was like right in this area. But he used to take me down one time. He said he was walking here. There's a graveyard there. At least 5 or 6 graves. And when the creek rises, it just washes out. Some of the coffins are still, but it's modern engraved headstones. I never got down and cleaned them off, but you could see the names. But I don't like to hang out there. The last time I checked, the graves are still there 8 years ago. The only thing really new in the area is this place with their own airport. Something going on. Nice farm, big house, 2 big barns. But why is this the only place that's the tree? The Corn Elevator, Grand Ridge Road, This is one of the first jobs I ever had was working on tearing down the old one, building the new one. This is the parking lot. This is the bar. Mazan is over here where I went to school. My sister ended up being the superintendent of schools after being the principal and all that. Pretty small. Everything is brand new. I had no idea then. But there's very few trees. One of them's covering a graveyard. Some people, I know the people that own this land. I know the bankers live over here, somewhere right in here. Kinsman, small town. Verona, smaller. And then Mazan, Verona, Kinsman. These three had to make up one high school. This is the Mazan Creek, where most of or Mazan River, where a lot of the fossils are found. Nobody calls it Johnny Run. It's Old Mazan River. Now watch, if I type in Mazan River fossils, we're going live. Yeah, I meant Mazan. I've said Mazan River fossils. That's right there in Grundy County, in Morris, Illinois. Well, let's go to their coordinates. There's the Mazan River. So it goes down this way, cuts back over here, still following the Mazan River. There's the baseball field in Mazan. So the Mazan River, it cuts over here. They call that Johnny Run Creek, and Mazan River keeps going down here. We always thought that we were part of the Mazan River. Because, we're Mazan. There's 800 people there, man. With the river name. Oh, well.
Farsis. Farsi being a language that came from Babylon, and it was called Farsi in the Persian Empire, but it was a Babylonian language, meaning Persian. The Pharisees were priests from Babylon. They were called the seed of their father, the serpent. That's what Jesus called.
All right, now that's right now, that's where you play that clip. Everybody's dumber for having heard that. The Apostle Paul was a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee from the strictest tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of they're Hebrews. I have no idea how you could be teaching this long. You're hung up in the other books, child. This is a ridiculous argument. Very few subscribers, but Itchy Ear 65, that's a lot of views for nonsense. There's some more. Now, look, this guy here wearing the Friends t-shirt. Unbelievable. He's talking to this man here. Now, his problem here, he's an anti-Trinitarian. It says kingdom in context. These guys don't let him get a word in edgewise, but when he does, he says, God the Spirit has male body parts, as if anthropomorphic descriptions of God make him required to have all physical parts. So, that it's not a metaphor of he's spirit. I might have it pulled up for a reason.
And then follows up
And
with
Genesis
Genesis 3
5
and the
goes back
details.
to show male and female are both in his image. So we're gonna say
Mankind is made in his image, but we
Does that
get
include the
specific
woman?
descriptions of the Father's body later from
Does
other
that include the
prophets.
woman?
Mankind is male and female.
So that includes the female. So now let's go back to
Yes.
your reading of that text. Does God have female body parts?
This is just wordplay, bro. I've answered your question. This is
Does
obnoxious.
God have female body parts, dude?
He has male body parts. I've already answered your question.
But the female is
You just got an answer. Why don't you move on to
No,
a
you
different
didn't.
question?
No, you think you're answering, but you didn't. So let's try it again. If the female
JP, is this what you really want to go to? Oh, this is God Logic's channel, isn't it? He's just going to. Never mind.
All right.
God Logic will let
Now,
me
when you say God appears as a man, in Daniel 7, 9 to 10, he appears one way. In Revelation 4, he appears another way. Can you read Daniel 7, 9 to 10 for me, which you butchered in your discussion with
Yeah.
Matt? First antecedent to the pronoun.
So I
Let's
answered
read
your
it.
question. I answered your question.
Timothy 6, 13
But
to
you're
16.
going to ignore it.
You ran again.
I answered your question, and you're just
Keep
going to say
reading
I'm
the two.
ducking. I ran. I'm doing whatever. It's all.
Okay,
Just,
open up First
have
Timothy
you
6.
ever had a straightforward conversation with anyone? What about your
Can
renter?
you open up First Timothy 6?
You do this with your renter?
Back and zip it. Let him talk.
No, I'm just laying it down
Go ahead,
because
Dylan.
you don't let people
Deuteronomy
speak. I've
6,
been
what
watching
do you want
you
me to
guys
guess
for an
now?
hour.
So Dylan, what is your objection to God being three persons within his essence? What is your objection to that?
Yeah, I
Deuteronomy
don't
6,
think.
right?
I'll tell you. I don't. God's not an essence.
Oh man, so I was muted. When I said all that, I was going to go to Son, image of invisible God, firstborn over all creation. It is a creation of what? It's not of, sorry about that. That was, thank God it was only for a couple of minutes, but it's still unfortunate. What it was not was God being created as an essence of three people. The invisible God has always been, has always will be. He created cherubs, archangels, Satan. Who's the father of sin? Did that happen in the garden? That's all I'm asking you. That's all I'm asking you for now. Chew on that as the meat of the word. All things were created through him and for him. Although he now here is physical, he is before all things. In him, all things hold together. That means your battery operated, spinning vortex, flesh covered soul that is spinning in infinity is held together by Christ. There is a body, the head of a church, so that in everything he will have preeminence. And the gospel had already been proclaimed to every creature under heaven because God called Paul his servant. Still need to know where you fit in. Start at verse 3 here. God the Father blessed us, who? Saints in Ephesus, who are faithful in Christ Jesus. That's the ones he's talking to. He chose us. He blessed us in spiritual heavenly realms. You've been predestined from before the foundation of the world to be set apart, to be made blameless, adopted as his sons. And he rewards those sons who serve him faithfully. It is blood and forgiveness, his riches in grace. He purposed in Christ. In him we were also chosen as God's own, having been predestined according to the plan of him who works out almost everything, no, everything, by the counsel of himself. The sting of death, gone. This was a study for myself here. The Lord has closed Hannah's womb. Her rival would provoke her. I long for those days when women want to have children again because it would be a blessing to them, not to use as a weapon. What?
U.S. Secretary of Commerce, was a man of many accomplishments. However, his life was also marred by scandal, controversy, and mysterious circumstances. From his rise in Washington, D.C., to his untimely death, Brown's story is filled with shocking and scandalous moments that continue to provoke intrigue. Fact number 1. A humble beginning with a hint of ambition. John Brown earned a reputation as a formidable lobbyist. While working for Patton Boggs, a top Washington law firm, Brown represented various high-profile. The rise to power in the Democratic Party. Brown's rise in the Democratic Party was nothing short of meteoric, culminating in his election as the first African-American secretary with a cloud of scandal regarding illegal contributions from Asian businesses in exchange for favorable treatment. Croatia, killing all 35 passengers. The official investigation cited pilot error as the cause, but the circumstances of the crash quickly fueled conspiracy theories. Some speculated that Brown was assassinated.
You understand how long some of us have been going through these conspiracy theories? I was a young man, slightly younger than Bill and Hillary, but I considered myself young. I was still pushing 40.
To prevent him from revealing sensitive information about the Clinton administration, particularly regarding illegal fundraising activities. Reports of
And Ron Brown's famous last words are, "You think I'm going down alone?"
the Department of Commerce. Allegations surfaced that Brown had funneled government contracts to companies with ties to his political allies, raising concerns about cronyism. Critics accused Brown of using his position to facilitate favorable trade agreements for Chinese companies in return for political contributions, a charge that was part of political allies to keep positions within the department, often at the expense of more qualified candidates.
Here's another one, short, but this guy, man, he's the guy that was the investigator.
This day, the NTSB and FBI investigations
Badass.
both remain open. And 20 years later, Fred Fritz Meyer remains vocal about what he saw that night. Fred joins us now from Smith Point County Park at the TWA Flight 800 Memorial. Appreciate you taking the time to talk with us tonight, Fred. All right, it's been 20 years.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And it's been 20 years. Take us back, July 17th, 1996. Let me ask you this directly. Any doubt in your mind that night when you were headed toward Gabreski Airport that you saw a missile, an actual missile heading up in the air toward Flight 800?
There's no doubt in my mind. I flew helicopters over North Vietnam. If I didn't know what a missile looked like, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I saw a single missile. I tracked the missile to its explosion, and I saw a total of 4 ordnance explosions before the petrochemical explosion, which was the tank fuel in the aircraft.
Well, one of the things that we found curious here is the chairman at the time, James Hall, the chairman of the NTSB, he was supposed to interview all of the witnesses. There were hundreds of witnesses who claimed to have seen a missile-type object heading up into the air.
Right, and it was one of these where the first time it was like, well, there was training in the area that night, but it was only training.
To explode just off our south shore.
Rockaway.
Explosion out here, 5507.
TWA 800 center.
About 16,000 feet or something like that. It just went down.
TWA 800, if you hear center ident.
I think that was him.
I think so.
At 8:31 p.m. on July 17th, 1996, 230 people died when TWA Flight 800 exploded midair and fell into the ocean just south of Moriches Inlet. After a 4-year joint investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board, the FBI, and the CIA, the official report concluded that a spark in the 747 center wing fuel tank likely caused the explosion.
But again, no evidence of an explosion just from looking at the boxes.
Witnesses, along with members of the investigation itself, say that conclusion is way off course.
There is more than plenty witness evidence that there were 2 missiles fired at sea and 1 missile fired from shore.
And we all looked out the window and we saw a large fireball coming up out of the water.
A radar hits of debris going out the right side of the airplane in excess of Mach 4, which is about 6,000 plus or minus miles per hour.
Henry Hughes was the senior accident investigator for the NTSB at the crash site. He says radar traces show pieces of wreckage rocketing away from the jet at 3 to 4 times the speed of sound. He also points to...
So this was the beginning, of the, we're training, we're doing this, that, but there's a long list of, let's see, there's one I wanted to show you. Well, I don't see it right now. We might run into it, but this was leading up to the 90s when they say it's the safest way to travel, but not if you're a politician. Larry McDonald killed on a plane. This is one where they changed the transponders and were shot down by Soviet interceptors because they're following the transponders into enemy area. Flight 007, head of the John Birch Society, was a Democrat back when Democrats could be pro life, anti-abortion. A couple of other senators mysteriously canceled their flight at the last second. He had joined them and became their leader. And then he got rubbed out in a plane crash. Starting, let's see, when was this? Nick Beach. Now, this is a family of people who sometimes die in plane crashes. His father, who I couldn't find a lot on, but the Beisch family here, Begeish. Let's see now. Is there an aviation? I was just surprised that in Alaska, his wife died and then he died later. Sarah Palin, somehow, all of these people worked together and it just kept it going in Alaska. But in politics, it's rough in Alaska. Paul Wellstone, though, he was going to run. After a while, Bill Gates and others thought, why do we need the Clintons? They're so controversial. Represented Minnesota from 1991 until 2002 when he was killed in a plane crash after announcing, you know what? I think I'm going to run for president. No, it didn't work out like that. It was the Beechcraft, crashed in a dense forest, went down, no flight data recorders, nothing, icing, maybe, but he'd gone. Bill Gates was taught a lesson. You just wasted a bunch of money giving it to him to want to run for the president, didn't it? Politicians. Mel Carnahan, governor of Missouri, then his wife came in as a Democrat, but leaning towards the right as they thought it was going to be. October 16, 2000, right after, or it's in that wheelhouse of the, a year before the September 11, flying in a small Cessna 335, crashed near Hillsboro. Sorry, had a memorial service. They all showed up because, he was kind of a big deal. Governor, first term, second term, lieutenant governor, worked his way up, solid Democrat, and then it wasn't. And he was that introduced into the Freemasons that Walt Disney founded. Yeah. How about that? Friend of the famous, John Kennedy Jr. What? Father was assassinated, uncle was assassinated, everybody gets assassinated now. He just had a terrible accident. Very suspicious, but was his time up or was it all part of the plan? Now, here's Ron. Do some searching on him. There was one survivor. She died, she survived the crash, but didn't survive the helicopter ride down the hill. They said they found what matched a .45 bullet in his head, but then they said, no, he hit a rivet on the plane. It's You go again. Could it be the hit list? In my world, that's not unplausible. Here's another one. He's going to be like, I'm an American politician. I feel pretty good. Oh, man. 8 people aboard a state-owned airplane in South Dakota flying around. And then next thing you know, we're going to be needing a new vote. We need somebody else. The safest way to travel is not good. And this guy here, he was way up there, Senate, for a long time. Tower Commission, much? Investigated Iran-Contra for the Reagan. Held it off as long as he could. Only Southern Republican in the Senate until Strom Thurmond switched parties. Former Ku Klux Klan, right? Anyway, they had enough. They needed Barry Goldwater. So they got him. Because somebody else, leading up to the 9/11 thing, everybody's got to go sometime. John Kerry married the famous fortune of the Heinz ketchup. He died in a plane crash. Very popular, could have been president. He's running this and that. Harvard School of Business. Uh-oh. Collided in midair above a school when they were trying to see if study this one. Absolutely ridiculous. A helicopter's underneath him to see if his landing gear is locked. You can see it's down, but they know there's no way to tell if it's locked. But sure enough, they said, yeah, we'll go underneath it. Next thing you know, it crashed into the plane and they landed on a school. People in the plane dead. Same with the first grader. Hal Boggs disappeared. Member of the Warren Commission. Twin engine airplane. It's that same family, Sometimes they got to go away. Ted Stevens, he thought that, the safest way to travel is by airplane. He forgot the caveat, especially not if you're a head of state, like of Latin America. Your statistics don't add up. Anyway, he's gone.
See something wrong, you have to do something. So now we have, as a result of this film, had to get involved in writing and submitting affidavits, writing petitions, trying to get these government agencies to do something. And it's almost a full-time job, and it's not remunerative. And you can, I certainly, financially, it's a disaster for us, but you feel responsible.
You keep going. You have to.
You
right?
have to.
So has the investigation been reopened? Will it be reopened?
I'm glad you asked that. No, in fact, you wouldn't if you read their response to our petition. Well, we're going to give a full rebuttal to it, which it's laughable. They responded to the petition in the negative, and they hope.
Who's they?
The NTSB. That petition we were signing.
Right, the NTSB. The ones that will always be laughing at you, not because they can, and they will. Nothing happened. All these generations, all of these decades, we've been studying all the proof. People pour their hearts into it, and it's swept under the rug for the next Super Bowl. That's the way the wide road seems like they're going to win until they can't kill us all. It didn't help.
Chemicals found on the seats and portions of the fuselage. The government called it glue. He says it was explosive material. Hughes believes there's no doubt something hit TWA Flight 800.
That's an explosion that occurred external to the airplane. And we know that from looking at the victims and the interior.
Every year on the anniversary, friends and family gather here at the memorial.
Is this a computer thing? Everything put out 1 year ago? TMH. Stuff like this, maybe?
In my opinion, is found in the work of a non-existentialist author, namely Eugene O'Neill. In his play, A Long Day's Journey into Night, the character Edmund speaks these words.
What's up? I mean, look at her. And people were supposed to go, that's normal? What's this one about?
The following is a talk presented on July 30th by TACT, Truth About Civil Turmoil, a group which describes itself as follows. TACT committees are organized in your community by concerned local citizens for the sole purpose of helping their neighbors understand the forces that are using our youth, our desire for peace, freedom of speech, and so-called civil rights to pit one segment of our society against the other.
In Meadville, Mississippi, in August of 1965, the body of a white man was found. The coroner ruled that this man died of a heart attack. It was obvious that he'd had heart failure. He had whelps on his body from his ankles to his head. There was a hole in the top of his head. He had a gash across his face from his eye across his upper lip until the roof of his mouth was exposed. It was obvious that he died of a heart attack. The story behind that is this. Here was a man who was immediately disillusioned with the Klan and who threatened to tell the local law enforcement officials what the Klan was really doing. They were preaching one thing and practicing another. He said he was going to tell on them, and they beat him to death. The moral of that story is you don't ever tell these cluckers that you're going to tell on them. If you're going to tell on them, you just tell on them. Because if you tell them that you're going to tell on them, you probably won't live to tell.
So he dropped 3 bombs. Only one went off while the crew escaped unhurt, and all 2,000 tons of the Springfjord now rest on the beach, testimony to a rather startling miscalculation. This pained the CIA, but the whole Guatemalan episode pained other Americans, some of them influential. One of them who was pained and is pained is Senator Eugene McCarthy of Minnesota.
Now, if we believe that the Constitution says about the responsibility of Congress to declare war, for example.
Same old nonsense, man.
But because there literally is no other alternative to chaos or to encouragement of those who have made themselves explicitly our enemies.
So they have to do it. They don't want to kill
In the
them.
program which follows, reporter John Pilger expresses a personal view.
National trade originated from the United States. We have that agri-power right here.
This is the Center of Concern, a respected Washington organization which monitors U.S. food policy. Peter Henrio is a director.
If I have something that you need, I have a certain power over you. The United States and Canada, our northern neighbor, presently control some 80% of the food that is in international market.
You know what? I hope that we enjoyed it. It doesn't seem like it. We did what?
For 10 years, they've received no help from any international agency. It is most unusual to meet a woman.
We know now they're covering up the Starford world, that it's being there. Now, this woman, the one who was tempted, Eve, this is how you get something taken out. Let's start there. You know, God took the man, told him, there's a tree of knowledge, good and evil. The day that you eat, then you're going to be a person who dies. Not good for the man to be alone, but first go name the animals. Not good to be alone, no suitable or helpful found. So God caused the man to fall asleep. This is being made from the dust, not being created in the image like the Titans were. He made a woman, brought her to him. Notice, he did not breathe pneuma into her. It was there, bone of bones, flesh of flesh. She's a woman. She was taken out of man to be a helper. That's why they should be, leave their mother and father. There was no man, Ha'adam, after the 7 days. No shrub of the field had yet appeared. The Lord God had not sent it to rain. It wouldn't be a big deal if this wasn't a new type of creation thing. No man to cultivate the ground. So you can go 7 days without rain and thinking it's a big deal, but the no man to cultivate the ground. Springs welled up. The ground was already irrigated. It didn't need rain. God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed the life into him. Nothing like when he's talking to other Elohim. Hey, let us bring forth these creatures and then we'll make them in our image, male and female. And they're the ones that are going to have all this dominion and everything else, ruling over everything. So he made them in his own image, male and female. And we know that they were supposed to rule over the lands. There was some sort of a plan to see if Satan and his crew really could do it like they should and better than God, which causes so much confusion about the whole divine assembly. When one Elohim, Yahweh, he rendered judgments among the other Elohim. How long were you going to judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Play in favoritism. That's what they did. They didn't understand it. That's why they were all sons of the Most High Spirit God, but they're going to die like mortals. And when they judge the earth, all the nations and the inheritance, they're going to be judged. There's veils being opened. We know now that it was Elohim in a God congregation where he was judging other Elohim. But he was always perfect. And he was the Elohim that was the bright morning star. Now, that is a compact hour of something to chew on. The whole Clinton hit list, coincidences, the bowl games that will be going on over the next month as silver may or may not go to $100. But we do know we're called or not. You want to make sure you're saved, die in faith, knowing it's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past. They added 1,000 years. Orphan trained brains, Hegelian dialectics to cover up the flat earth. Me and my friends never going to tell you anything else. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame. Adios, amigos. That's how I like to say